the Ohio State Buckeyes. Hey, we're back. How you doing? It's another Saturday. It's football season here in the great state of Ohio. Welcome back to the Buckeye broadcast. This is, as ever, your host, Emmet Brady. And on the Buckeye broadcast, we take a deep dive into Ohio State football and all things the state of Ohio. We look at the players, the predictions, and all the prognostication, as well as each week we feature a different health, fitness, and performance topic looked at through the lens of the DAYMA performance system. DAYMA is an acronym for Dance, Athletics, Yoga, and Martial Arts. And this week, the Buckeyes continue. Number 10 Buckeyes, they are looking good for this week. Last week, they had a dominant, crushing performance against Rutgers. I think they surprised everybody, including myself. I didn't think they would totally blank Rutgers. And today, they got a game against Maryland, a team that is relatively new to the Big Ten and has not given the Buckeyes too much trouble in the past. Again, another team that's won some big games here. Earlier in the season, they dropped Texas when Texas was in the top 25, but the Buckeyes are looking pretty good, both on offense and defense, and it's all about remolding the team after the big loss to Oklahoma earlier in the season. We also can remold our bodies, and that's what this episode, the feature, is fascia. It's a connective tissue that's in the body. It's the main focus of the DAYMA system. It's spelled F-A-S-C-I-A. Fascia is what it looks like. And it's basically what molds the body and keeps everything together. It wraps all your muscles, your nerves, all your internal organs, and your viscera. And the reason I thought about talking about this, a lot of people have questions about it. It's not discussed very much when you talk to a doctor or a physical therapist. But I was watching some football clips of the greatest runs of all time in the NFL and in college football, and sometimes you're just absolutely amazed when these guys with all these natural gifts take off and they leave some of the fastest and most well-trained athletes in the world behind. They leave them in the dust. And not only is that optimized performance, but their body is optimized. Their mechanics are fantastic. And so when you loosen your fascia and you can operate your bones and muscles functionally very well inside your body that way, then you are optimizing your energy efficiency and you can perform better. So that's what we're going to talk about. But first, the games last week, not too much to to go over again. The dominant passing performances last week. J.T. Barrett was just, by the first 1.5 quarters, the game was out of reach for Rutgers. J.T. Barrett broke the all-time passing record at Ohio State. I think he's going to own just about every quarterback record at Ohio State. 15 for 23, 286 yards and 3 touchdowns. Very efficient against a mediocre defense at best. And he could have gone for probably 10 touchdowns had they kept him in the game. But we got the backup quarterback, D. Haskins, in, and he looked good. He looked good. Joe Burrow got some touches as well. I think this is the good time in the season to get the backups in. I don't have any doubts about Barrett as a quarterback. I just think the chances of injury in the season this tight, especially with the Big Ten, the second half of their schedule is going to be really tough. We had good rushing yards. McCall and Dobbins and Weber together, I think they were close to 200 yards on the day. Mike Weber, of course, got 3 touchdowns. I'm so psyched to see that because I think he's really being underutilized by the Buckeyes offense. He's a better pass blocker than Dobbins as well. We had a couple guys. Mr. Dixon showed up big, over 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. He first time in a while that he had such a dominant performance. But the good news was the passes went all across the field. The entire receiving corps had 1, 2, maybe more touches and receptions. A lot of long passes as well. So that's what looked good, and that was a criticism that was coming against JT and the boys. So the defense, of course, absolutely blanked. I didn't think my prediction was 48-7. They won 56-0. And the Rutgers team, I think Rutgers kept in their starter, Bolin, a little too long. Kyle Bolin just didn't perform well, and they could have brought in the younger freshman, the true freshman, but they chose not to. He had a couple looks, but overall, there was no touchdowns, so they didn't even throw for, I think, over 100 yards total as a team, 92 total as a team, and they only rushed for 117 yards. That's just flat out embarrassing, for any team in the Big Ten. The defense looked great. They had some great interceptions. Dante Booker got one, which was important to him to get his season back on track. A lot of good, sacks for loss. I mean, really, there's not much risk. I think the game last week was to get the whole defense, first, second, third teams in, and that was super, super important there. Even J.K. Dobbins even got in for a play there on defense. So a good team, a good game to show for the Buckeyes to show their flex their muscles. Never was out of control. Really what we're going to try and find out here is the, everybody knows Urban Meyer's reputation as an offensive coach. He has some games coming up that are going to show how quickly they can adapt to a more explosive offense. That's really what I want to see. I think these last couple games have been good to get the deep backs better for pass coverage, a little more aggressive, and that'll allow them to step up. Kevin Wilson, the offensive coordinator, made some good calls last week, but it didn't really matter. I think they could have called anything to win. And I think, just to look ahead, I think it's going to be the same sort of thing against Maryland. The Terps have never really stepped into Ohio State last year. I think they blanked the Terps, maybe 56-0, if I recall. Essentially, they played well. The Terrapins played well against Minnesota last week. They won a big game out there. They had 102 yards. Well, their offense has been putting up about 102 yards a game rushing and 8-9 yards per carry. So that's pretty awesome, for a Big Ten team. And that could be something the Buckeyes need to focus on, but I don't think the Golden Gophers, Minnesota's defense, is anywhere the caliber of Ohio State's. One of the things I'd like to see this week is a lot more uphill and backfield playmaking by the defensive line. It's been heralded as one of the best in the country. I think they've underplayed this year. Even though the center of the line has been, Bosa, of course, he's the name itself is pretty well renowned, and then Hubbard and the other one in the middle, Anquan. Sorry, I can't pull up his name right now. Basically, I think that the defensive line should be able to pressure Maryland pretty well. I don't think they're going to have the chops to put up many points. The special teams could play into this as well, because that's one of the areas where the Buckeyes, I think, could improve as well. If they're going to shut down the opponent, what they do with punt returns and kick returns is going to be part of the game, just to give them good field position and make it easier for the younger players on the Buckeyes offense to get some looks. As far as the Terrapins go, Ty Johnson is their big monster back. And then Terrell Pigrom, I think maybe how you pronounce his name. Max Bordenschlager. He is the go-to guy, I think, in the buzz in Maryland this week to get him up and get a lot of reps again. He's a true sophomore, and he looked pretty good. Maryland's been averaging about 38 points a game, but that is not. There's not really the teams they played. They put up 63 against Towson, which is a Division I double A team. So they're not really. They're FSC, but FCS, but they're not top tier like the Buckeyes are going to be. So. Overall, I think that really what this game is the Buckeyes. There's nothing special coming out of Maryland. They've got an okay passing offense, but nothing that's going to keep the Buckeyes too stressed. Really, what they're preparing for are the upcoming games, and that's going to be Penn State. I think is going to be the first big challenge that the Buckeyes have. It's in 2 or 3 weeks. So. As this goes on, there's some injuries that happen along the way, but nothing too critical. We got most of our, I was glad to see, like I said, Mike Weber back as an offensive threat. And, when it comes down to redeveloping the strategy for the season, it really happens to do with anything in life. First, you have to look at the shape of what you got, and then you have to remold it. And this is where the DAYMA topic today, the fascia, which is the fibrous connective tissue all throughout the body. It's a protein collagen matrix. It wraps all your muscles. It's like a skeletal. It's like the internal skin of the body. So you have the skin that covers you head to toe, and then you have your fascia. You have superficial fascia and then deep fascia, which wraps all of your organs, your heart, your pericardium. These are all fascia, and it looks like a flaky onion peel when you peel it back. Actually, when you cut in any kind of meat, if you're a meat eater or an omnivore, you'll see like when you cut into a steak, sometimes there's fascia that's left on there. It's like the thin fibrous material, and that is remoldable. It covers the whole body, and when you get an injury, your body wraps around that part of the body to protect itself, and that's why fascia is so important. It slides over itself. Literally, if you have 100% of the fascia in your body and you twist your ankle, your fascia slides to the ankle. It also, brings in fluids to help protect and cushion the body. And that's why sometimes if you twist your right ankle, you can get a pain in your left hip, for instance. Another interesting thing about fascia is you can massage it yourself. A lot of times when people, get a massage or just, rub their own body, they think what they're doing is working out, that their muscle feels better. But really what they're doing is they're releasing fascia oftentimes so that the muscle can operate better within the body. And they also, the idea in certain techniques such as Rolfing, which was named after a woman named Ida Rolf, and some other deep, muscle and massage release techniques like Thai massage or Tui Na. The idea is that the body, many people think that the skeleton supports the body and everything works around it like a robot would move. But really, the idea is that the fascia and the skin are kind of moving through space, and they create a mold that allows the body to move inside time and space. And when the fascia is molded properly, then the levers that are the bones of the body and the hinges and the joints of the bones are moved through time and space more effectively by the muscles. And of course, it's all coordinated with your mind, your brain, and your cerebellum. Some of it's, called involuntary, and some of it's not. But the idea is that if you take time to learn about the easiest way to point out fascia in your body, the bottom of the foot is a very common injury called plantar fascia stress, and that's one way that you can learn about it. That's like pure fascia down there. Another way, which is probably a little bit easier for people to understand, is along this outside of your leg. If you start at your kneecap and work your finger up towards your hip in a straight line, there's a thin, wiry stretch that you can feel in between those 2 points, and that wire is actually called the IT band, the iliotibial fascia, and that's the largest fascia stretch in the body. But you can also work your fascia if you reach up under your rib cage. When you separate your diaphragm muscle from your rib cage in a nice gentle massage like that, that's fascia that you're releasing. You have fascia all across your head. You even have it in your wrists. That's another great place. If you make a ball of your fists and then rotate it in its full range of motion, it's called circumduction. That releases the fascia that runs from your hand all the way up your forearm. It actually connects all the way up to your neck too. So if you make a fist, even put your thumb inside that fist and rotate your hand, that's releasing the fascia all the way up the body. And the whole goal of the Buckeye broadcast is not only to have fun with the game, much respect and much appreciation to the team and the coaches, the whole staff at Ohio State, as well as the families that support the young players that play down there. But we also want to, make the healthiest, happiest football fans in the land, and that's why we include the health and fitness topic. That's what DAYMA is all about. I like to say, get your mind off your brain, get it into your body. And for that purposes, we want you to enjoy the sport and feel good doing it. So for tonight's game, it's on national television on Fox. The Terrapins come to Ohio State, so the game's in Columbus, which means big problems for the Terrapins. I saw the Bucks do it last week. If they roll again, if they play the tight game, I think that's going to be put up big points once again. If they bring in the second half, the team in the second half, the second stringers, then they might not score as much as they could, but I think they're going to look to put up big points here. So we're going to go 52-6. I think the Terps are going to get a couple field goals off maybe, but it's not going to be much that. So 5-2-6, go Buckeyes, roll. And thanks for tuning in to the Buckeye broadcast every week during the football season. If you have any more questions, you can contact me on my website, meetemmet.com. It's all E's, M's, and T's in that spelling, just like Emmet, like the Lego movie.com. And thanks for tuning in. All I got to say is it's a great day to be a fan of the Scarlet and Gray, and go Buckeyes!